Okay, good morning. For housekeeping purposes, I'm going to ask for all of those who are in attendance, if you can please turn off your video and mute yourselves. Although we believe that we are in a webinar presentation mode, we just want to ensure, because we are recording this webinar for your reference, future reference, that the information that we're providing to you is clear and concise. So good afternoon. My name is Hester Agadosi. I am the Chief Diversity Officer with the New Jersey Office of Diversity and Inclusion. Again, I'm going to ask if you can please turn off your cameras from the video mode. Thank you. And thank you for joining us today for the American Water National Supplier Diversity Doing Business presentation. Today, I'm really happy and excited to say that we have three fantastic representatives from American Water. For those of you who had the opportunity to join us last December, although that was just a couple of months ago, for the 2020 Garden State Minority Women Veteran-Owned Business Summit. If you were there, you would know that American Water was one of our sponsors for that summit. They have a vested interest in diversifying their supply chain. They have a robust process, and they are here today to speak to you in more detail about how you can do business with them. So for housekeeping purposes, please note that this presentation, as I indicated, is being recorded, and it will later be placed on the New Jersey Office of Diversity and Inclusion website. And we will put in the chat the link to the website that you'll be able to go to for referencing this presentation. We're going to go for 45 minutes, and then at the end of 45 minutes, we'll be open to question and answers. If you have any questions, please place them in the chat box. I will be curating the questions for the presenters. If there are any questions that remain unanswered, we will endeavor to make sure that post this webinar, we are able to reach out to you directly and ensure that your questions are answered. So with that being said, I'd like to introduce Lawrence Wooten from American Water. Lawrence is going to be teeing us off. He's I'm sorry, Lawrence, you are the Supplier Diversity Program Manager for American Water. And in addition to Lawrence, you will also hear from Sharon Manker and Robin Robinson. So at this time, I am going to turn off my video and turn the presentation over to Lawrence. Thank you.
Thank you, Hester. Appreciate it. And we appreciate this opportunity to talk to New Jersey-based diverse businesses. It is an important aspect of who we are and what we do on a regular basis for American Water. As Hester mentioned, you'll hear from me a little, but you'll also hear from Sharon Manker and Robin Robinson Still, who work very closely with me in building our efforts around supplier diversity. Sharon is, as you can see on the screen, is our senior lead for supplier diversity at a national level. So Sharon has a great deal of responsibility and support across all of our states and all of our areas of operation. Robin is actually a buyer with our New Jersey American Water organization, but Robin has a true passion for supplier diversity and ensuring that there's economic growth within the state of New Jersey, and she's done a phenomenal job in support of us. Robin also serves on the board of directors for the SDDC, the Supplier Diversity Development Council for the state of New Jersey. So she is very much engaged in what is going on in New Jersey. So we're going to talk a little bit, and I don't want it to be all about American Water. As Hester mentioned, if you have some questions, please get them ready and put those into the chat so we can answer as many questions as we can in the time allotted. Excuse me. At American Water, we always start off with a safety message for whenever we have a meeting of this level. If we have more than 3 people in a meeting, we make sure that we have a message of safety, because safety is job one for American Water. We work in very high level places where safety can be compromised. So whenever we go to work, we want to make sure that folks are going back home just the way they came. So Our safety message for today is really about avoiding complacency. And I won't read through these because, you know, you see this on your screen, but I want to talk a little bit about complacency, especially in the environment we're in now. Um, we're all working differently because of the pandemic. We're all working in a different environment, and it can become complacent. You can get complacent. For majority of us at the corporate level for American Water, we've been working from our remote locations and from home for upwards of a year now, and it can be you know, you can get complacent. You're sitting at your desk all day at home. Usually, you're probably by yourself. If you have kids, they're working, being homeschooled. If you're have a significant other, they're probably working from home and focused on that. And each day, you know, you're doing it's the same routine. You're not getting up and going to the office. So here are some tips about complacency, and really take those to heart. Me myself, I try to get out and walk every once in a while. I try to make my routine different each day, as opposed to just getting up and coming to into my home office. I try to um, get up early, do a little exercise, walk my dog, and so on and so forth. So definitely our safety message today is about complacency, and be mindful of it and do something different in order to ensure that you stay active and your mind doesn't wander or get depressed and so on. So next slide, Sharon. So we're going to talk a little bit about us, and here are the statistics of American Water. We're 1 billion gallons of water treated and delivered on a daily basis. Over 6,800 employees across the country. In 25 years, we've done a great job in receiving awards for our water quality. For those who don't know, we are a New Jersey-based company. Our headquarters is in Camden, New Jersey. That first slide you saw, that is our new headquarters building, overlooking the water leading into Philadelphia. We moved into that building and we began moving in I believe it was the fall of 2019. And we have approximately about 700 to 800 employees that when we in regular times, we're in that building on a regular basis. But we are a national water utility. We are the largest publicly traded water utility in the country, where we are in 45 of the 50 states. And we also provide managed water on military installations. What you see here is the breakdown of where we are. And as you can see, we span a great deal of the United States. The gray represents our regulated business, where we are in that regard. So that the gray shaded area is where we are from a regulated business perspective. For again, we're headquartered in New Jersey, and we have a huge presence in the state of New Jersey in terms of water treatment and wastewater management. Again, the blue illustrates the regulated business that we currently manage on a regular basis. As mentioned, we do have a military services group, which we do not own the water systems on military installations, but we manage those for a number of our government customers. We also have homeowner services group, which you probably get a piece of mail which talks about insurance for say, for instance, if you have a water main break or you have a problem with your water line leading into the house, you as the homeowner are responsible from the curb to your house for if you were to have a water issue. So what we offer and homeowner services offers is insurance for that. So as opposed to you getting a big bill from a plumber or from your water authority, we offer insurance, which would alleviate a lot of that for you that homeowners have. But again, the growing piece of our business is our military services, where we are providing and managing water on a number of military installations. So next slide. So we're going to talk a little bit about our national diversity strategy. I've been with American Water for closing in on 4 years now, but been within supplier diversity for upwards of 30 years now. So when I came on board, it was really about creating a one American Water. All of our state operations have individual processes around diversity and inclusion and so on and so forth. So we wanted to ensure that when we went to market and when we talk to groups such as yourself, we're talking as one American Water. So Sharon and I were really focused on building a strategy from beginning to end to ensure that all of our states were engaged in supplier diversity. So what we did was we set a 5-year progressive plan for increased spend with diverse suppliers. So we set goals at the state level. Each state president is briefed on what expectations are in terms of percentage of spend with diverse suppliers each year. So we set a foundation. In 2018, we began this process where we looked at the historical spend of each state, and we put in aggressive goals each year to get to a certain level. We're now in year 3 of our 5-year progressive goal strategy, which will run into 2023. And once we get to 2023, I'm sure we will continue to go on and increase our goal of spend with diverse suppliers. Our goals encompass both first and second tier. For those who may not be aware, first tier is spend that we have directly with diverse businesses, and second tier is that spend that our prime does with diverse suppliers. We have contractual requirements for all of our primes to report to us on a quarterly basis what they are doing in support of diverse suppliers. And I can tell you for the first 3 years of our progressive goal strategy, we have exceeded performance, and we will continue to do that. One thing that we're putting into place this year, our leadership is known as the Executive Leadership Team. It's the ELT. And we felt that was a missing piece for our goals. Even though the CEO supported the state goals, we wanted to make sure that the Executive Leadership Team also had skin in this game. So this year, we're rolling out goals associated at the ELT level. When we talk Executive Leadership Team, we're talking about legal, HR, engineering, and operations. So they will now have goals associated with supplier diversity also. So we've been working very closely with them to identify their areas of opportunity, meeting with their stakeholders at that level, and ensuring that they are committed to meeting our goal of increase of spend with diverse suppliers. So it's not only about the percentage of spend. We've gone out and doing things of this nature. We want to get our message out that we're an inclusive company, and we want to make sure that you understand that also. So it's not just about the goals, it's marketing ourselves to businesses such as yourself, talking to you about what the opportunities are and where we think that you could fit within the supply chain with American Water. So what you see here is some of the highlights of our strategy, and I'll just talk to a few of them. As I mentioned, we've implemented contract language in all of our prime contracts. We hosted our first Supplier Diversity Summit, and some of you on this call may have attended. In 2019, we actually held our first ever Supplier Diversity Summit, which was held at our new building in Camden at that particular time. Last year, since we were in a COVID environment, we actually did a virtual summit and we focused on 2 key states at that particular time. We focused on New Jersey and we focused on Pennsylvania, where we set up matchmakers for all of our key stakeholders to meet with suppliers to talk about doing business with us. We've gone out and we meet on a regular basis with our state presidents to ensure that they understand what we're trying to do. We've joined a number of organizations such as the Eastern Minority Supplier Development Council, the Women Business Enterprise Council. I sit on John Harmon's board, the New Jersey African American Chamber of Commerce. I sit on John's board and work closely with him, and we support all of those particular organizations. So we've been successful in the past 3 years of including diverse suppliers on both the first and second tier. And I'm sure you've all heard this, we still have much work to do because it's always an education process. It's all about knowledge sharing. So we continue to share our knowledge of inclusion and diversity with all of our internal stakeholders on a regular basis. We will be hosting a summit in May, on May 19th and 20th of this year to do the same thing, not only knowledge transfer, but we will be setting up matchmakers for all of our key stakeholders. So this is an ongoing process for us. Next slide. this just talks about our summit and gives you an idea of the impact that we had in terms of participation at our summit. I can tell you the feedback we got, it was all positive, that people felt it was much needed. And we had a great audience. That picture you see to the far right, those are two hardworking people there. That's Sharon and myself, setting up for matchmakers. But this is just illustrates the impact that we had as a organization. Next slide. So Sharon, I want to turn it over to you because again, I'm not going to hog all the great work that we've done. And Sharon, if you want to give a few tips of our decision-making process and how we engage diverse suppliers, okay?
Absolutely. So I'm Sharon Manker. I report to Lawrence Wooten. A part of the decision-making criteria for American Water, safety is not only a part of our core values, but a part of our culture. Your safety in your OSHA reportables will need to be examined and reported on a continuous basis. In order to do business with us, we do an upfront assessment of where you are as far as your OSHA, any complaints. We do all of those financial reviews of your data. We go over any of your track record, your work history, are you delivering on those products or services for the entities that you have been doing business with? That's why we look at the work references. What are your capabilities, and have you been doing work with other utilities in that space for your product and service? And also how you responded to the RFPs. Are you going to be responsive? Are you making sure that you have all of the things that are being requested? And all things considered, making sure that your price and costs are there and aligned with what we're trying to pay for that product or service. So these decision-making criteria go into—
Excuse me, Stacy. This is Hester. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I am going to ask Byron Plummer and Gonzalo Vergara if you can please turn your video off. We see you on screen and this is being recorded. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. So, so a part of American Water's, mission and vision and core values is to identify these things. All things remaining equal, then we say, okay, and they have a diverse certification. These things are paramount in the decision-making criteria to make sure that all suppliers, diverse or not, are on an even playing field. And then we have information on both our Tier 1 and Tier 2 strategy. Larry is awesome about pushing the conversation within American Water that we want to give more diverse suppliers Tier 1 opportunities to do work with American Water. What is a Tier 1 opportunity? Lana said earlier, a Tier 1 opportunity is when American Water or its affiliates or subsidiaries have a direct contract with a supplier for products and services. That means we're doing business with an MBE, VBE, WB, and so on and so forth, and we can count that spend on a Tier 1 basis. 100% of that spend is counted. We validate that information with a certification. The certification from third parties is how we ensure that we are making sure that the supplier is what they are, right? We have information at the end of the presentation on where you can go to see that information in our list of recognized certifying agencies, and all of that will be supplied. Further into the presentation, we'll go into what you need to do to be considered and where you need to go to register in our portal. So Larry, do you want me to continue on to our Tier 2? All right, so our Tier 2 program and strategy, we have suppliers that have been on long-standing relationships, long-standing contracts with American Water. And in those aspects, there may not be opportunities for Tier 1 for you to bid on, but there may be opportunities to partner with primes that are currently doing business with American Water. One example is we'll have a construction company, they're doing water main replacements in the state of New Jersey, say in North Jersey. And for the next set of projects coming up, they may need an excavator, they may need equipment, they may need safety equipment, they may need safety supplies, cones and vests and whatnot. And what we would do is we would make sure they have access to that information, that they can find diverse suppliers to support their business needs. That's one. We do that in several ways, and we'll go into that a little further. But we also make sure that they report that to us. When they're about to bid for an opportunity, they have to submit a subcontracting plan. And in that plan, it'll tell us the list of diverse suppliers that they are going to be included for tier 2 opportunities. And then we take it a step further and we ask them to report it in our supplier portal 4 times a year so that we can report on that information. One frequently asked question we always get, and this is probably why we had it in here several times, is what is a tier 1 and what is a tier 2 supplier? A tier 1 supplier is a supplier, as I said before, that diverse or non, that has been awarded a contract with American Water or one of its affiliate companies. So if you are a tier 1 supplier and we do a contract directly with you, you're a tier 1 prime. And if you're certified, you do not have to report. But if you are not certified, then you have to report what tier 2 suppliers you are reporting with. A tier 2 supplier is one that's under our tier 1 who is subcontracted to do work for a contractor or supplier who has a tier 1 contract with American Water. Sounds all convoluted, but here's the gist. If you are doing work with one of our primes, we do a lot of construction and a lot of engineering work because we essentially lay the pipe in the ground to produce clean water to keep life flowing. And if you're providing them with janitorial services, with products, with cleaning solutions during COVID, so you're going in and clean their office, if you're providing them with services of accounting or legal services, and you're a certified supplier, they have to submit their spend with you on our behalf in our system. They submit it as either direct spend or indirect spend. A lot of times people get these two things confused and we get a lot of questions about this. So direct spend is spend that they have spent, a tier 1 prime has spent with a diverse supplier that can be tied back to a specific American Water project or PO. For example, I'm a contractor ABC, I'm doing work in North Jersey, I'm doing a water main replacement project. I bought all of my pipe from a diverse supplier for this water main replacement project. I can report that as direct spend for American Water's contract. An example for indirect spend. I am ABC contractor, I'm doing work on this water main project. It is not for American Water, but it is within the course of me doing business for that quarter. I did work with this supplier that did landscaping for me. I did work with this WBE or MBE or VBE supplier that runs my cafeteria services. That is indirect spend. It's not tied directly to an American Water project, but in the course of doing business, I did business with a diverse supplier and I can report that indirect spend. So that just gives a brief overview of our tier 1 and tier 2 strategies. And I'll turn it back over to Larry. Larry, do you want to talk about our sourcing opportunities?
Sure. And you can go on to the next slide. I'll just talk about it because I know we want to leave time for some questions and answers. So as I mentioned, we are very much geographically diverse. And I'm sure you've heard this before, we buy everything. You know, we're a major corporation in a lot of ways, you know, so we buy everything to run the operation of our business. So when we talk about, office products to HR, to IT, et cetera, we buy all of that. But would you say, is that all an opportunity? it is an opportunity, but you have to also understand that we are a company which we're a mature company. So we're currently buying that stuff from someone now. So you have to be able to uh, show where you are in a lot of ways better than the supplier that we have right now. We price is not the overriding thing in our decision making, but it is part of the decision making in terms of who we're going to source from. Sharon, Robin, and myself, we always try to focus on the total value that a supplier brings. So you may be 5% higher than the lowest bid, but if it's a total value proposition, for instance, if in fact, if I was buying this product or service from the lowest price, but you know what, their quality isn't as great as it should be, and your quality is a lot higher than theirs, that's a total value proposition, because we know there's hidden cost in terms of, if I'm not buying a quality product from someone else, that I'm going to wind up paying for that somewhere down the road. So we try to focus on and justify our purchases on a total value proposition. As Sharon mentioned, we put pipe in the ground. When we talk about impacting supplier diversity, our business, that's where we can truly impact it. We are, in a lot of ways, a construction company. We put pipe in the ground. We dig holes. So from an excavating perspective, from purchase of pipe, from purchase of safety equipment, purchase of MRO, which and things of that nature, those are all important to us. But we do buy everything. We use consultants. We use IT. We buy computers. So it's across the board what we buy. What we usually ask for when we're first meeting with our stakeholders is, what is the scope of work that you're working on? In order for us to talk to you folks that we're speaking with now from a sense of knowledge, we want to be able to have the scope of work of what our stakeholders are using or looking to purchase. So at least when we're talking to you, we have a good idea of what it is that we're going to be purchasing, and if in fact your company fits that bill. What we ask from you is what your capabilities are. We're going to ask you, okay, here's the scope of work. Does your capabilities fit that? And we may ask for some references. We may ask for some previous projects that you worked on that fits into that scope before we go back to our stakeholders and say, we found a supplier that might be able to support you. From a geographic perspective, as I mentioned, we are across the country. What you see to the right is how we kind of are broken down. Our larger states, one is New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Illinois, and California. They are some of our larger states, but as you can see, we have a huge presence in the Midwest, which encompasses all of those states. We are down in Maryland and Virginia. So we are across the country, and you need to determine, are you looking to be a regional supplier to us? Or are you looking, or do you have the bandwidth and the capability to support us on a national level? You also have to ask yourself the question, as Sharon talked about second tier, am I ready to work with American Water on the first tier? Okay, and if not, that's fine. Then it might be an opportunity for us to introduce you to some of our prime suppliers who are looking for diverse suppliers. So you need to ask that critical question of yourself, are we prepared and am I qualified to work with American Water on a first tier? If not, let's talk about them introducing me to some of their prime suppliers, and I can begin to get in the door that way. So that's, as I mentioned, our sourcing opportunities are wide. A lot of stuff is under contract because, as I said, we are a mature supply chain organization, so we buy from all over. But there is an opportunity to get in either on the first or second tier, as long as you feel you are a fit to American Water. Last thing I'll say on this subject is people often ask, well, how do I start with American Water? And I'm sure you've heard this before. I tell folks, know us better than we know ourselves. And I tell our internal folks, the innovation of business and of products and service is being done outside of American Water. And we want to make sure we take advantage of that. So just because we've been doing it this way for the past 10 years, 20 years, does not mean it's the most efficient way. So let's be open to new and innovative ideas. So I ask you, know us better than we know ourselves. know what our problems are by asking questions of myself, Sharon, and Robin. If you know of any engineers and operations folks that work for us, ask them questions about what keeps them up at night. Check out our website, which we will make sure that you have access to. Take a look at anything you can that has to do with American Water and see how you can help us make our business better, to be quite honest. It may not be fair, but I often tell people, know us better than we know ourselves, because we're trying to solve problems on a daily basis. And we think we have the answers, but we don't. And the answers are outside, and we look to our supply base to help us to solve those answers, those questions, okay? Next, we can go on to the next.
We're here. So this just gives us,
Go ahead.
this slide here gives you an overview, speaking to what Lawrence was saying, know and understand us, right? A lot of times, and I see some questions coming in the chat of, do you have opportunities of this? We buy a lot of things. Unfortunately, we do not have a public facing bidding portal. We are a privately held company. So in order to be invited to bid, you need to be able to be found, and we need to be able to access that information very quickly when those bids opportunities come up. We also need to be able to build those relationships with you. That's why you have myself, Robin, and Lawrence, and a host of other buyers across our organization that are searching out for suppliers. And this is where we want you to go. This is how we streamline the information. So first, as Lawrence mentioned, know us, know what we are about, what we do. If you come and you say, where can I get your bottled water? I know you don't know about us as a water company, because we do water and wastewater treatment. So know us, know our history, and then know what we're looking for, right? We want to make sure that your company is certified, that you've gone through that whole vetting process, you have all that documentation that is ready when asked. Also, what Lawrence said about determining where you fit in. I love how he always says, you got to tell us, what we can't live without, right? We can't live without this product or service because it has been efficient in saving money. It has been something that we are nationally known for, we are locally known for, and we are helping suppliers do this. Don't come with the notion that you have all these products and services, you want to give us all to us. Know the niche that what we're looking for at that time. And then number 4, they're going to send out the slide deck with you, to you, but we have a supplier portal. Don't think of it as a black hole, as I know that a lot of suppliers do. You think that when it goes in, it's not going to be looked at. Every single profile in our new portal gets emailed to me. Every single one. So I'm the admin for that system. And then what I do is I'll take a look at it and I'll say, hey, okay, this supplier has experience with this, this, and this. And then I'll check some sourcing opportunities that I have known and see what's out there. And I may come back to you and say, hey, let's have a brief conversation. I see that you've done this. You have this service. Our team is looking for this. Do you mind if I set up a meeting to introduce you? And hey, if I set up a meeting and introduce you, can you talk to them specifically about how you did this for this company, or how you can help with this issue or problem? Now, there are always opportunities. So, but having you in our portal gives me that in to be able to contact you quickly. We get a lot of emails, we get a lot of calls, we get a lot of information. Hey, I want to connect with you. I want to make sure I have this product or service. There may not be opportunity there, but when there is, I need to be able to find your information and contact you quickly. I need to be able to pull that file and say, here, engineering lead, here's the person that can meet your needs. They have the experience, they have the product, they have all the information here. Take it and run, and you can start to onboard them and look up their safety information and go on to there. Next steps only start when you take the first step. And the first step for us is making sure that you get into the portal.
Yeah, and you know, what we do is, because folks, you know, a number of you I know are asking the question, do you have an opportunity here? Do you have an opportunity there? We on a regular basis go to our key stakeholders and say, hey, what are you going to be working on 6 months to a year out? Sometimes, I'll be honest, sometimes we have success in getting return on that. A lot of times we don't find out until they're getting ready to go to bid. So to Sharon's point, that our portal is extremely important because we want to make that our first point where we go to look for suppliers. I'm going to give a quick example. We're now venturing into the legal space where for most corporations, they have not really delved into professional services, and I'm talking legal as an example here, to include diverse suppliers in. I can tell you that our legal team is very receptive to taking a look at diverse suppliers. We now have an ask, and I'm going to put it out right now, and Sharon is working on this. We've been successful in identifying a legal immigration lawyer for our legal team, and they're going to be signing this particular person up to work on immigration issues on our behalf. But they've asked us to take a little deeper dive look and come up with a list of other legal firms that they can take a look at from a diverse perspective. My ask of our legal team were, what are some of the areas that you are looking for? So we make sure we identify the right suppliers or the right legal firms, and they've worked on some of the type of areas that you're looking for. Sharon is already working on that, and she's provided them with some names. So if you are a legal or a lawyer and you own your own firm, we'd be interested in your capabilities and things of that nature. So that's one thing I'm going to put out right away that we're looking for. But I'll sum it up this way. We're always looking. We ask our stakeholders for what they're looking for. A lot of times we may get an answer, other times we may not, and we may not know until the RFP is getting ready to go out the door. So we have to react quickly. So that's Sharon's point about getting your information into our website. Okay. So
Thank you.
Go ahead.
It's pretty great because we often have to pivot on a whim. Okay, we have to pivot and we have to get that information very quickly. And a lot of times people are very hesitant. Well, I don't want to get in your portal, this and the other. And here's another really brief success story. Supplier we met maybe about 3 or 4 years ago, and they were trying to get into our system. I heard of one of the category leads. I go to their meetings every week. I listen to, I'm a fly on the wall to see what's out there, what they're working on. And I heard that they wanted to, get some suppliers in this space. I ended up contacting that supplier. They were included in that bid. And the first pass, they actually didn't win the bid. And the supplier that was selected wouldn't agree to our terms and conditions. And therefore, they forfeited their chance to be the top supplier. It then went to the diverse supplier who I had reached out to and who has then performed phenomenally. As a result of their performance and them being responsive and very quick to respond to that bid, I mean, happened almost overnight. Now they have gotten a national contract with American Water. So things may not happen when you want them, but they always happen on time.
Yeah.
And that's just a quick success story that we've had.
Yep. And I'll close it with this, because that is so true, that we often tell our internal stakeholders when they are on the phone and they are talking to, and they're talking to a multi-billion-dollar company, they're probably talking to a manager who can't make a decision right then. When they are on the phone and they're talking to a small or diverse business, they're probably talking to the president of the company who can make a decision right then and there. When we're talking about working with a major corporation, that's like a freight liner turning in the sea. When you're talking to a diverse or small business, they can be very flexible and make decisions as they're needed. This was a perfect example of that. The owner was on the phone and said, yes, we can agree to your terms and conditions, and we moved on. So that was a huge success story. So that's how we continually justify and build on the use of diverse suppliers at American Water. I often say, you know, and you guys, and this is nothing against salespeople, please understand me, but I always said I could never be a salesperson. The point is that Sharon, myself, and Robin, we sell every day because we're selling supplier diversity to our internal stakeholders on a regular basis. We always have to justify, hey, this is why you should use a diverse supplier. This is what they can bring to the table. Here is the differentiator between a diverse supplier and a large business, et cetera, et cetera. So we're selling every day on your behalf, whether we know it or not. So I want to leave it some time for questions, and hopefully we've answered a number of your questions now, but we're here for another 15 minutes or so. So Hester, I'll turn it back to you.
Yep. So while Hester prepares to come up, just this last slide that's here, I put a list of frequently asked questions that we get from diverse suppliers, from all suppliers. So that is out there on the site. What happens next when you're in the database? You know, I'm literally always checking it. Information on our different regions. If you are not certified, how do you become certified? What do you do? What is a diverse supplier? Which certifications do we accept? We accept pretty much all of them. And, you know, what is the role and responsibilities of us to respond and to get back? So we wanted to make sure that you guys all know, and we'll definitely put the URL for our certification platform. I'll put that into the chat as we prepare for Hester to direct the Q&A session.
Thank you so much, Team American Water. I think that everyone who's participated on today's webinar would agree that you gave a lot of good, valuable information about your process. And that's so important because oftentimes it's the rules of engagement that business owners need to know and understand in order to be able to successfully navigate and onboard into supply chain systems. So I'd like to again thank the team at American Water for providing this very comprehensive overview. And as indicated, this is being recorded and will be posted on the Office of Diversity and Inclusion's website along with the slide deck. So having said that, we're just going to dig into some of the questions. I'm going to a certain extent, cherry pick because I want to be able to get through as many questions as I can from as many different sources. So first one, and anyone from the team, feel free to answer. We have a business owner who says that has a question about union labor.
Is it just?
And what they wanted to know is that their company in particular is a merit shop and locksmithing and facility maintenance doors and door hardware. Are there any limitations on a non-union shop becoming a vendor?
No, no, there's no limitations on a non-union. A number of our folks are union, as I'm sure that's what this question relates to, but a number of our suppliers are non-union shops. So no, there are no limitations on a non-union shop becoming a supplier to us.
Okay, thank you. A follow-up question is, what does American Water look for in a new vendor? For example, relevant experience, references, years in business, credit worthiness, etc. Is there a priority or ranking for what makes a new vendor attractive?
I'll just start, and Sharon or Robin, you can chime in. I would say all of the above, but as I mentioned before, it's about total value. So if you come in with, I'll say, limited relative experience, but in fact, you have demonstrated that you understand the process or the project you're working on, and you are price competitive, you will definitely be considered. As Sharon mentioned, safety, you need to have a good, especially if you're working in terms of in the field for us, safety is going to be one of the most important things that you need to bring to the table, because we really look to safety as a measure of success for us. But all of the above, and I would say if you want to put a priority on it, if you're working in the field, safety is going to be job one. If it's not a field aspect, it's going to be total value, what you bring to the table. So Sharon or Robin, I don't know if you want to chime in on that.
I can definitely just second that. Safety is going to be the paramount priority for all categories, whether it's a product or service, and just be mindful that they're going to take a holistic approach at what you have to offer, what your experience is. In the state of New Jersey, our leads really value whether you've had utility experience. That is a paramount importance to them. So what is personally important to them is that you did it in a safe manner. That's going to be a priority in building those relationships.
Thank you for that. Next question. Are subprime contractors always on a paid when paid basis, or is this up to the subcontractor to negotiate terms with a prime?
It's up to the sub to negotiate their terms with the prime. We encourage our primes to utilize diverse businesses, but we don't, that's their business relationship. It's, for instance, I'll give you a quick example. If the prime, of course, our contract is directly with the prime, and if they said we can do it for X amount of dollars, we're going to hold them to that. You know what I mean? Now it's up to them to negotiate with their subs to meet our expectations as a prime. So their contract is with that prime. They negotiate that with the prime.
Thank you. We have a question. We have a representative from the statewide Hispanic Chamber of Commerce of New Jersey. They want to know how they can assist you as a chamber representing 120,000 minority businesses in the state of New Jersey to meet your diverse contracting goals.
Again, I'll include Sharon and Robin if they want to chime in. I would say we can set up some, I know Sharon has personally attended some of the chamber's events, but if we're looking to get more involved and we want to get more into a partnership, I suggest we schedule a offline call between us and talk about some of the benefits of the chamber and how we can support you. As I mentioned, I sit on John Harmon's board now.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Beth Levine, can you please turn your video off screen? Thank you.
John has mentioned to me that he wants me to take over the chairmanship of his foundation board, and we would definitely be more than happy to talk to the Hispanic Chamber about how we can get more involved with the chamber.
Thank you.
I do a lot with the chamber. Just wanted to second that. So I actually signed up for your newsletter, so I get that at supplierdiversity@amwater.com. I share that out with our base when you guys have events. And I do have suppliers that are in that chamber who I am working with. So very familiar.
Thank you. Next question. This is someone who is a New Jersey-based technology consulting company, MBE SBE. How would they become a preferred vendor in providing software technology services?
Well, I'll give you a quick overview of our T&I strategy. We utilize, from a staffing perspective, and this may not be what this particular person is talking about, our staffing.
I'm sorry, Lawrence, and just because there's another question right after that talks about that IT piece of it. So I'll just tag that on. They do want to have an understanding of who your contact is as well to discuss IT procurement.
Sure. We utilize an MSP for our staffing needs. We use Yo, which manages all of our staffing needs. From a software perspective, a consultant from a software perspective, one, as Sharon mentioned, I would suggest registering in our website, but you can send your capabilities statement directly to us, and we can share that with our inclusion, with our IT team to see what type of needs they have. Right now, Sharon and I had a conversation with the IT team just probably about a week and a half ago, about what they'll be working on in the coming months. But definitely we can take a look at that. But I can tell you from a staffing perspective, majority of our contingent labor is handled through our third party, which is known as YO. They're based in Philadelphia, and we can definitely put you in touch with them if it's a staffing need.
Thank you, Lawrence. Would that also cover cybersecurity? Because there was a question about cybersecurity as well, and who the contact person would be for those services.
Yeah, from YO does not, from a staffing perspective, if it's direct cybersecurity, we still handle that. That success story that Sharon mentioned before from an IT perspective was for cybersecurity. But again, if you're a cybersecurity supplier, please register in our site. And if you want to share your capability statement with us, we can definitely take a look at that.
Thank you. Next question. I think I might know the answer, but you can confirm. Will there be a diverse supplier summit in 2021?
Yes, there is. As I mentioned, it's going to be held May 19th and 20th, half-day session each day. The second day will consist of matchmakers. The first day will be workshop along with an award ceremony. But I think for this group, the second day will be actual matchmaker, where we'll be having one-on-one appointments with a number of our stakeholders across the business throughout that afternoon session from 1 to 4.
Wonderful, and I'm sure that that information will be shared with the Office of Diversity and Inclusion. So folks, please know that there will be multiple streams of information regarding the summit being sent out to you so that you have the opportunity to meet the wonderful people at American Water. Moving on. We have a lot of shout outs in the chat. So please know if you have someone from American Water who's just looking at the folks who are letting you know who they are and what they're about, that information is in the chat as well. Next question. We have a person who represents who is a freight broker with access to many dump trailers. They have a 901 and 901A permit, WBE business. How do I find out who won your bid, since I would be a tier 2 supplier?
Robin or Sharon, do you want to take this? Because if it's a logistics, or you're saying dump trailers, won our business in terms of what? Is it hauling of our sludge and waste, or what? I just want to understand that.
I don't know.
Okay.
They just want to know how they can find out who won your bids so that they can then reach out to them. Sharon, I'm going to ask you to go off video. Sharon Mahan. They want you to to let them know how they can find out who your primes are, so that they have the opportunity to reach out to your primes directly to make the primes aware who they are and their capabilities for potential subcontracting opportunities. So I think that that's a question that, although it's specific for this person who's asking about dumpsters, but I'm sure most of the business owners here who are interested in subcontracting opportunities would have a similar interest in knowing.
Yeah, I think, and Sharon said, and Robin also, we do get inundated with email, but I can tell you, for something like this, I mean, if you want to know who our primes are, it's twofold, really, I guess you would say. We meet regularly with our primes to ask them what they're looking for, and we link them with suppliers. But I'm going to put out there, if you're interested in who some of our primes are, I would ask you can email me directly, tell me what you do and where you think you fit in, and then we'll work to identify primes. And I'll also need to know
You're
You
gonna
know, are
have
you
300
talking about?
emails coming to you, and so
I know,
don't
I do
shoot
it
the
all the time.
messenger.
I do it all the time. And Sharon and Rob cringing right now they are, but I do it all the time.
Thank you.
Just send it to me and we will work to find out. But I'm gonna ask you for that information. You know, I need to know your capabilities. Where do you want to work at? What have you done in the past historically that, you know, where you feel you fit in? So, and then we'll identify one or two primes that might fit your need and we'll reach out to them or give you their names. I'll give you an example quickly. I know we got to
Well,
go.
let me just say this, Lawrence. We have about
Sure.
5 minutes left.
Okay. Okay.
So I'm gonna
Go
ask
ahead.
if we can just squeeze in a couple of more questions.
Go ahead.
You've given some great information in terms of just contacting you.
Yep.
We started a little bit late, so for those of you who can hang on, we'll probably go until 3:05. So the next question is, does American Water require services of architects?
We do. Robin, do you want to address that? Sometimes it's bundled into our packages with our engineering firms, but Robin, because Sharon also, before she came over to Supplier Diversity, she used to manage another number of purchasing for our state. So Sharon or Robin, do you want to address that? I know it's usually bundled into our engineering contracts.
Yes, I see Robin still there. So we do have architectural engineering as a commodity line for our procurement services. Usually when we're like building a new plant or a new building, that's when we would need those type of services. We know that in some states, they're about to start some new buildings of plants. So there may or may not be opportunities at this juncture. But like I said, get into our portal.
Okay, I'm sorry. I've just been advised that we are going to be cut off at abruptly 3 o'clock. So we don't have the opportunity to extend beyond. Thank you all for participating. The contact information for American Water will be made available to you. You have the opportunity to reaching out directly to these 3 wonderful representatives that I'm sure you will agree will be a valuable resource and partner to you in your business. So thank you all again. Have a wonderful afternoon and be on the lookout because we will continue through the Office of Diversity and Inclusion to provide you with these types of procurement readiness webinar series. Take care. Thank you
And
all.
shout out to Sharon Mahan. That's an old friend of mine. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Okay, take care.